Welcome to SML Total Access, where we break down news, predictions, and more in our Madden League. Now, let's get fired up for SML football.
Hello and welcome back to SML Total Access. I'm Primetime 000, joined by Matt and Dan. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, it's been a long time. Glad to have the gang back again.
Yeah, same here. A lot has happened since we last met. I know we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's start off first down here on the show. And I think the biggest news in the SML this season, maybe, has been QP looking like QP again. Last year, he made the NFC Championship game, and I don't want to call it a down year because he was in the NFC Championship game, but he wasn't quite the dynamic player that he was. This year, he's a freak show. What's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, when you say QP is back, that's quite the statement, right? Because you usually say that when someone's been struggling or, et cetera, losing. He's had a lot of good success. But when you say QP is back, it's the dominant fashion that QP is back. Like the glamour of how he's winning. I mean, just blowing people out. Bomber 31-0. I mean, just absolute. He beat AJ 42-0. Beat Monty today 38-8. These are good players. He's destroying them. He's got the best defense in the league points wise, the best team in the league yards wise, second best in passing, sixth in rushing. Offense, Davis Mills holds that offense back. It's just the way it is. Nobody's perfect. He has to do what he's dealt with, but he's doing a really good job, and he's doing it in fashion. And hey, man, if you're in the NFC, that's the guy you have to beat now.
Yeah, Q's done a really good job, both on the offensive side, defensive side, and team building. I love what he's done with his defensive line, getting a lot of pressure there, forcing teams to pass. They can't run on him with big Vetav, whatever that guy's name is. Always annoyed me there, defensive tackle. But he's playing really good ball, and I'm excited for him. I think he sees an opportunity here. We're going to talk about in a second with Faz maybe taking a step back. And so, man, he is just dominating. The thing that you got to be a little bit worried about is he doing it too soon? That's always the concern in one of these kind of guys where they start showing their hands a little bit too soon. Some of these top guys are watching it, seeing what they're doing, taking mental notes, and then come playoff times, they throw them something new. But, man, it's impressive right now, and I'm on the full Q train.
Yeah, I too think Q is looking like the best player in the SML right now. It's interesting, looking back at last season, people always say Matt laid down for Prime all these times, but we thought Q laid down for Faz in that NFC Championship game, and then maybe just with his gameplay throughout the season, because this year it looks just like a new Q. So much more refined, and to your point, Matt, 38-0 against Monty, 42-0 against AJ. I mean, these guys are not slouches. These guys are good players. And then obviously Bomber 31-0. I mean, just domination. It is interesting though. Meats kind of plays Q well. Just watch out for Meats is all I got to say. Anyway, yeah, I think Q, top 5 offense, number 1 ranked defense scoring, only allowing 10 points a game. Tough to argue against that. The guy is looking like a top tier player in the SML, and he is looking scary. Like Dan said, we're halfway through the season. It's still got a long way to go, and championships aren't won in November, so we'll see what happens. Second down, Faz has lost Aaron Rodgers, and he was a freak with Aaron Rodgers, as he is with a lot of gunslinger quarterbacks. Now, we kind of know naturally Faz, any player would take a step back when they lose an X-factor quarterback. Let's make that clear. When you lose a player like Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to be as good. Faz especially maybe kind of isn't as good maybe with lesser quarterbacks that some might say. So, Dan, what do you think? What's the expectations for Faz now without Rodgers?
Well, the expectation is basically whether or not he's going to prove what we've all been saying about him. He can't win the big one without that gunslinger quarterback, which history so far has proven to be actually true. He's done well, and he's doing really well right now with his rookie. He's playing good ball. He has some good wins under his belt, and he's going to be obviously clearly in the playoffs. There's not a question about that. We're not talking about taking that step back. The question it will come, though, when the pressure mounts come playoff time, that quarterback needs to make a throw. That quarterback needs to make a play. Will that quarterback do that? And then if he doesn't do that, which has kind of been a little bit of Faz's Achilles heel, will he tailspin? Will he start mentally kind of just getting frustrated and annoyed and not playing his game? So there's a lot of questions out there. Faz is a great player. He's still to be feared. He's still going to be one of the favorites. Yeah. But without that quarterback, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Faz is one of the better players in the league, so I don't care who his quarterback is. He's going to – I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I haven't been here for the entire lifetime of the SML, but if there's an SML Mount Rushmore, I mean, Faz's neck has got to be chiseled in there somewhere, right? I mean, you got to at least consider that. But I think Dan is right. The expectation of Faz, anytime he's playing in the SML, is to make and win the Super Bowl. That's the expectation. When he doesn't have Rodgers, though, Faz's offense is not predicated around the quarterback. He's got the number one offense right now with his rookie. But Faz's success is determined around the quarterback. And that like Dan said, that big throw, the big moment against the tough competition in those playoff games. I mean, when he goes against Q and not having Rodgers could be the ultimate game changer. He's had a decent wins. He's beat Dan. He's beat Bomber. I guess everyone in the NFC is a playoff contender, but
he lost to Bomber.
He lost to Bomber, excuse me. So, and he threw 3 interceptions in that game. So that's not what you expect from someone like Faz. But the expectation for someone like Faz, his caliber, Super Bowl.
Yeah, when I look at his schedule this year, he does have that win over Dan, but other than that, his schedule has been fairly light. I think he would even say he does have Q coming up. He's got Gutta again, but it's all about the playoffs. And for Faz, for me, for Dan, for Q, for Matt, for guys like that, it's all about the playoffs. So yeah, I think the expectation in Faz's head has got to be, hey, you know what? I'm going to prove it that these guys are freaking idiots about this gunslinger or set feet lead. It was gunslinger a few cycles ago. Now it's set feet lead elite, which Rodgers had or whatever the frick he had. Either way, that jacked up quarterback. Now he has a chance to dev this quarterback to get that. One thing that Faz got lucky on, he missed the draft. He had no quarterbacks, and then in the draft he got a second or third round rookie CPU drafted superstar. So this season could have been a lost season. Now it seems like there's hope for him. It is interesting. This is probably the best I've ever seen Faz play defense in his SML career with his Packers defense. So I don't think the quarterback loss is as big as what it could be. But I do think that, again, the games against the QPs of the world, even the Doinks of the world or the Meats of the world are going to get a whole lot more interesting because you don't have that leeway on a bad decision passing the ball. So, yeah, I'm going to very closely watch his next few games. The next episode we release, I'll have a determination on if I think Faz is a legitimate Super Bowl contender or not.
Well, you make a good point real quick, Prime. Faz, just like all the other elites, has a good defense. What separated Faz was that he also had this a great quarterback, which again Faz does a great job with that, which gives him a lot of flexibility if things aren't going his way. Now he kind of falls back into the same category with everyone else. When things aren't going their way, it might be a knockout of the playoffs, which we've seen with a Q, with me, with you, with everybody. Like we've all played bad games and then we got knocked out. So that puts Faz right into that category where he just doesn't have that luxury of, okay, some bad things happen, I still got Aaron Rodgers. Bad things happen, I still got a great defense. Now it's sort of like, well, bad things happen. Ooh, will this rookie show up? And that's the big question.
Yeah. Let's move on to third down. Speaking of quarterbacks, and Dan, we've got to talk about it. This might be awkward, but there's been a stir and chat for really a season or two now with really this whole cycle with you and Josh Allen. And Matt, I want to get your thoughts on this first. What do you think is going on between this Dan? He wants to cut Josh Allen sometimes. He's just fed up. What do you think about all this?
Well, I'll just start off by saying I definitely think Josh Allen's a little bit of a scapegoat here. I'm sorry, but he's almost the perfect quarterback as far as ratings go, outside of Paranoid, which I do think there's some truth to that. He doesn't have that flashy pass lead, set lead elite, all those kind of things. But, I mean, as far as the quarterback goes, 28, 29 owners in this league would love to have Josh Allen. So I do think there's a little bit of a scapegoat there. But I think for Dan, I'm not seeing an identity on offense. Dan's offense, maybe in Madden 21 a little bit, but for the most part, it's never really scared you, right? It's not like you're going against Faz, who has these crazy concepts, and it's like, okay, I can't cover everything, and he's going to hit the open guy. Dan's just always been efficient, the short yardage, the good run game, good defense. So it's like, man, I can't make a mistake against this guy, but it's not like, oh, I've got to score 50. He's always been that way, but now 23rd in points, 29th in yards, 28th in passing yards, 25th in rushing yards. Now he hasn't played as many games as everybody else, but those numbers are fairly accurate. I've played him once. His offense was abysmal. Mine was even worse. So he did beat me, but I didn't feel that same fear. And with Josh Allen, I don't know if maybe Dan feels like he needs to go away from his identity a little bit because he's got this bazooka quarterback who could do all these things. So I think for Dan, he doesn't have an identity on offense, and maybe he just doesn't know the game very well on offense. His defense is really good, but offensively, he has no identity, and I think he's just blaming it on Josh Allen.
Dan?
Yeah. Josh Allen, man, my all-time favorite quarterback. Yeah, psych. Listen, this guy is he is rated high. He has all the flashy titles. He has all the flashy symbols under his name and everything like that. But he doesn't do what he should do. And I think that's my biggest frustration right now is in my mind, I'm mentally saying, I've got this great quarterback. I should be able to push the ball down the field. I should be able to make these great plays. And I just can't do it. And it's frustrating me because every time I try to do it, I get sacked. He has a sack fumble. He throws interception sack out of out of sack or whatever, that pass out of sack. And there's nothing that he does that I can't do with a lesser quarterback. And now I'm paying this guy 45 million a year. So there's this mental block that he's in my head by wanting me to play something different because I think he should do it, and then he doesn't do it. And so there's a huge frustration in there. I'd much rather save the money, put it into something else, like Matt said, run my offense. I've won Super Bowls with Teddy Bridgewater, won Super Bowls with an average Trey Lance, won a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. I don't need the quarterback to win Super Bowls. But I think it's the mental part that he should be a lot better. And then you watch my game with Prime. I was so ticked because you can watch what the elite quarterbacks do, and you see what Herbert does, and he makes these throws and these plays. And I'm sitting there looking at Josh Allen, and it's almost like, it's a shiny, nice little car, but it's got the engine of an electric car, and it doesn't go anywhere. And so it's frustrating to me.
Yeah, looking at Josh Allen, first of all, I don't think he's even a top 3 quarterback in the current SML. Obviously, Rodgers is gone. I think Herbert is above him. I think Burrow is above him, and Mahomes is above him. You could probably put him at number 4, and that's top 5. Now, the issue is with Josh Allen and Dan. I think he's thrown 10 touchdowns and 14 interceptions this year. That's not Josh Allen. I mean, that is Dan. Now, the issue is, and I thought this when Dan took the Bills, what Josh Allen is good at is not what Dan is. Josh Allen does not have set feet elite, but he does have a dashing dead-eye ability where he can roll out of the pocket and throw on the run. Things like Dan doesn't do that. Dan throws a 3-yard out route. Dan throws a flat to the running back. Then he takes calculated shots. He's not a out of rhythm passer. And Josh Allen's kind of an out of rhythm player where he's got a 99 throw power and he could throw it on the run up to 40 yards with perfect accuracy. That's one of his abilities. Now, Dan's really the team Dan should have taken in this draft, which he couldn't have because we had the little keep your team. The Browns are the team that works best for Dan. The Bills just aren't a natural fit. They're just not. And that's not saying the Bills aren't a good team, but that just everybody's got their fit. And the way the Bills play and the way the Bills are set up are not a fit for Dan. So Dan's going to have to either learn how to adjust the way how he plays offense to fit that, which I think is what he's been trying to do. And he's trying to become what the Bills are, or he's going to have to accept the fact that he's not what that's got to be, and he's just going to have to run his Madden 22 offense, and he's going to win a lot more games doing that. A lot more games. And that's all I think there is to it. Flat routes and out routes, Dan. Flat routes and out routes.
Hey.
Yeah, if
Josh
I can
Allen.
say it.
Good.
I was going to say, if I can say anything in defense of Dan, the guy we just talked about on topic 2, Faz, he had a Josh Allen with Gunslinger, and the prodigy Faz, the Thanos Faz, whatever you want to claim him to be, he didn't do squat with him either.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe there's something to it.
That's true.
Listen, I would love Josh Allen if he only made $20 million a year. It's the $40 million and the shiny X factors that just tick me off. And I think to Prime's point, though, if I can just maybe mentally get over that and just treat him like a kind of an average quarterback, maybe I'd do a lot better.
Yeah, I think so. Let's move on now. We're spreading the love here on Total Access. Listen, a long time ago, multiple episodes ago, we said, hey, we're not going to trash people all the time. We're going to still challenge people. We're going to try to drive competition and rivalries, but we don't want to just always trash people every down. And hopefully people didn't get that when we talked about Dan or Faz or Q, which I think most of this was a positive episode. But let's spread the love for a moment. And Dan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's good that we hit that balance of having fun and busting some balls, but also realizing, hey, this is a community. And so shout out to the community. And it's under that kind of, idea that I want to shout out just the new primer guys that bumped up to SML the past month or so here. We got Royce, Gilbert, AJ, or A-Train. Sorry, he gets called AJ a lot, A-Train. And, it's not necessarily what they're doing necessarily in the playing and the wins and the losses, but just they're in the community. They're chatting, they're talking, they're doing things, they're active, they're a part of who we are as SML. They haven't caused any drama, they haven't caused any issue. They just kind of seamlessly came in and took over, and they added to the community. So appreciate those guys and what they're doing, and that's kind of what we are as SML. It's the play. And it's the competition, but it's so much more the community. And so just shout out to those three guys.
Yeah. I was kind of going to say the same thing. Dan kind of stole my thunder. I was, Royce, I've been a little out of chat with some personal stuff, so I haven't seen a whole lot of Royce, but I was going to talk about Gilbert and A-Train just because, two guys that came in and they fit in right away, right? I mean, they've obviously got some relationships from Primer, you can tell. But they fit in right away. Gilbert's a heck of a great guy. I've been in a party chat with him playing MLB. Nice guy. Really, really happy to have them here. They're doing great things. But I'm on the field, though, because, we like to give a little love to the people on the field. Colt's doing a good job. Colt's actually in first place. 6-3. He's got a win over Prime. He's got a win over Noel. He's doing really well. That's good to see. That's something you don't see all the time. So I'm going to spread my love to Colt. He has swung from the bottom of the AFC North all the way to the top. So congrats. Yeah,
for me, I do want to point out Meats' kind of turnaround he's had. Really, what is he? 6-2. He beat Bomber. He's right in the thick of things in the NFC first seed race. I really like what I'm seeing out of that. Paulie 7-1. And I know people go, Tank Paulie, he's been awful this whole cycle. So he really has just kind of turned it around this season. Those are two people who I'm kind of spreading my love to. And to piggyback off what Dan said, obviously we had three guys leave the league all within 3 weeks, what felt like, or maybe a month. And we hadn't had anybody leave up until then. Like the whole cycle's been the same people. And now some of the guys in the SML who had left had been kind of building up, and they had work stuff and other interests, and it was just time to go. Nobody left for the most part angrily or anything. So to replace those guys and maybe at least hold up that standard or even build on it with three guys like we've done, I mean, listen, that's pretty impressive, and that's a hats off to the Primer crew. I know Mike's helped add these guys to the league. Some of these guys were in the league when Mike was a commissioner. Dan, Bomber, Fins, DW helping out as Primer admins. That's just a tip off to those guys. I helped make the decision, but I'm just glad these guys are helping build these guys, because it's such a polarizing thing to add people from the Primer to the SML, and you kind of get crapped on if you miss one. But it's just kind of like a quarterback, or a kicker. You don't really get praised when you make them, but you get hated on if you miss them. Tell you what, these guys did a great job helping me decide these guys and adding guys who can really support the league. So hats off to the Primer admin team and getting three guys in a row who I think have been good assets so far. Moving on, extra point, Matt, it's all yours.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. A lot has happened. You know what? We're halfway through the season, a little over halfway. So why don't we just give you the top 5 teams in the SML right now? This is, of course, an unbiased list, as it always is. At number 5, I've got Meats. You just kind of spread the love to him. It's nice to see Meats on the comeback. I know he gets a lot of crap in chat, but he takes it in stride, whether he's winning or losing. And he's got some quality wins.
Yeah.
He's got a win over Doink. He's got a win over Monty, and he's got a win over Bomber. But I think to me, it's the losses that are the most impressive. He's lost to QP by 3. You just talked about earlier how he plays QP really well, and then he lost to you by 6. So, you know, sometimes the losses can shine through, even when you have a couple, and those are his only 2. So I know he's got a big game tonight on SML Live, but I'm impressed by Meats. I like what he's doing. At number 4, I've got a guy that I don't think has been on the Map 5 the entire cycle, and that's Paulie, who you also just mentioned. And I mean, 7-1. How do you not put him on here? I mean, his schedule hasn't been the toughest. He does have wins over Dump and RD, both teams that made the playoffs last year. A couple wins over Gutta, who is improving. I wonder why.
Yes.
But you know that's a division game as well, so those are always tough. His only losses to Faz, which it's just one of the, we talk about matchups a lot and comfortability. I don't know if he can beat Faz, so I'm not too surprised by that. Honestly, his schedule's not too tough the rest of the way either. I think Paulie's going to be a staple on this list for the rest of the season. At number 3, I've got the Los Angeles Chargers and U Prime. 8-1, obviously right where we would expect you to be. You do have there's a few teams with only one loss. You've kind of got the worst blemish, if you will. The loss to Colt. I think you had a dev game. I know that can always change things up a little bit for people, but you know, you're right on track. You've got quality wins over A-Train. You've got the win over Dom. You have the win over Meats, who I just talked about. You've got the most recent win over Dan, who I don't care if Dan's 4-4. He's going to make the playoffs. He's going to be a threat to win the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. So I've got you there, Prime. Offense looks really, really good. Run game, new guy. You're 23rd. You're still trying to find that groove, and I think you will. At number 2, I actually went with Faz. This was a tough one for me, but you know, Faz's only losses to Bomber, although kind of an ugly loss. He threw the 3 picks, but that's a quality opponent. You can't ever hang your head. He's got the win over Dan in a shootout. Actually blew the brakes off of Clinky. But other than that, not a whole lot of quality wins. He did beat Paulie, but Paulie's kind of his punching bag. I think that's a mental thing for Paulie. But hey, he's got the best offense in the league, so you got to have Faz there, defending champ. And at number 1, we just talked about it. We kicked the show off with him. It's QP. Yeah, he's got the loss to Dom by 2. Seems like funky things happen when those two teams get together. But dominant shutout win against Bomber, win over Meats. He destroyed A-Train, almost sent him back to Primer, and then just blew the brakes off of Monty. So you had Monty complaining in chat during the game. So, yeah, that's QP's number 1. The way he's winning is something I don't know if I've seen before, or at least in recent memory.
Dan, what do you think?
That's a good list. That's a good list. I agree with all that. I thought maybe put Colt in as an honorable mention just because he's been playing really well. So good list though, Matt.
Yeah, I too thought it was a great list. And I do just want to shout out Gutta for a second. Really big turnaround this season. I think he had 2 or 3 wins last year. He's got 5 this year already. I've been predicting him to get 9 wins, and I think he's well on track for that. I do believe in Gutta as well as I respect Matt. But that is a great list, Matt. And hey, we got a long way to go this season. We'll see who turns it on come playoff time and maybe climbs that list. Well, guys, I think we've done all we can this episode. That was Matt and Dan, and I'm Prime. And guys, thanks for watching Total Access's comeback episode. And until next time, have a great day.